How many real live teachers from the classrooms of the public schools are with us in this crowd? I'm glad. I always feel safer when I'm in a crowd with teachers. I want every single one of you to know, before I say another word, that teachers are my heroes. They don't receive the high rewards that they deserve. They don't receive the honor they deserve. And at this ugly moment in our nation's history, when the propaganda of the privatizing forces is demonizing and humiliating teachers, you receive less honor than you ever got before. But let me say right off the bat, as strongly as I can, that we're not here to moan and cry and wring our hands, and we're not here to beg the Congress and the White House to make a couple incremental minor changes in No Child Left Behind, or in the mania, the pestilence of testing, like some terrible disease, like mad cow disease, that's spread across this land. We are here to say you cannot fix this awful law. It needs to be abolished altogether. And that's not the only policy of government that's causing havoc in our schools. The wild inequalities of funding are more savage now than they were 20 years ago when I first coined that term. Add to this, I mean, I'm not kidding. In California, the kids get $7,000 a year unless you live in a rich suburb where the rich folks can go out and raise $1 million in a night at a fundraiser, right? $7,000 for the poorest children in America, $30,000 for the richest. Add to this, the rapidly increasing racial segregation of our nation's schools. Our schools today are more segregated racially and economically than at any time since 1968, the year, ironically, when Dr. Martin Luther King was taken from us. Now, I'm old enough, my friends, so I remember vividly the words of Dr. King. I was fired from the Boston public schools because I'd read the students in my class a poem by Langston Hughes. And the black parents were loyal to me, so when Dr. King came to speak at a mass rally in my hometown, the black leaders asked me if I would walk with him and be one of his bodyguards. Look at me. But I remember his words. I remember his eyes. I remember the passion and the perspiration pouring down his brow. And I remember every single syllable of his prophetic dream. Dr. King, my friends, did not say, I have a dream that someday, North and South and East and West, we will have more efficient, test-driven, and anxiety-ridden, separate and unequal schools. Dr. King's words were pure and clear. I have a dream that someday little black children, and if he were alive today, I'm sure he would add little brown children, and little white children, will sit together at the table of brotherhood. Nobody in power here in our nation's capital ever speaks about this anymore. They all say, I too have a dream, but they never tell us what crazy dream they have. Secretary Duncan, Arnie Arne Duncan has turned his back entirely on the precious legacy of Brown versus Board of Education. Instead, he's very, very busy trying to do Plessy versus Ferguson. Mr. Duncan, listen to me. Mr. Duncan, separate and unequal, has never been successful. It didn't work in the century just past. It will not work in the century ahead. And anyone who tells us otherwise is lying to himself and to the people of America.